Bonjour et bienvenue à la Galerie d'Ottawa. I'm Catherine Sinclair, the Deputy Director, Chief Curator here. Thank you so much for joining us today for our strategic planning session. I would like to begin by saying that we are grateful to be able to be here today on the beautiful Anishinaabe territory. Je salue la nation Anishinaabe car nous nous trouvons aujourd'hui sur les terres non cédées. I would also like to take a moment to thank our funders. Merci à nos bailleurs de fonds, la Ville d'Ottawa, le Conseil des Arts du Canada et le Conseil des Arts de l'Ontario. And also a special thanks to Saw Video for providing film documentation of the event. L'événement se déroulera en anglais aujourd'hui. Et maintenant, Alexandra Balzac, Ottawa Art Gallery Director and CEO, la directrice et chef de la direction de la GAO, Alexandra Balzac.
Au nom de la Galerie d'Ottawa, je vous remercie d'être ici. Aujourd'hui, vous allez entendre parler de nouvelles idées sur la culture et les villes, et vous allez aider à façonner le lieu de la GAO. On behalf of the Ottawa Art Gallery Board of Directors and team, thanks for joining us this evening for an afternoon session that hopefully expands our mind as we collectively shape our future. With the first few days of 2020 behind us, I think it is obvious that our lives and the spaces that we occupy are rapidly changing in this new decade. We are aware that no cultural institution or activity is neutral, nor is any city or urban environment free from its past or the forces and disruptions that shape it. So as the OAG began its work on the next set of strategic plans, we chose to cast our minds slightly into the future to align with the City of Ottawa's 2036 Master Plan. In doing so, the OAG is interested in speculating and planning for the role that arts and culture can play in its myriad of forms within a complex environment in the future. How much will our city's demographics change? Will there be a sharp divide between the haves and have-nots? Will we prosper under a green economy or experience significant upheavals from climate change? Is our population aging, and how will we handle stress and disease? Will we have diversity and gender parity on council? We ask these questions so that we can know what programs to cultivate, what alliances to make, and how to structurally change our organizations in order to be relevant in the future. As mentioned, the city plan looked to 2036 as the event horizon, distant but not so distant that we of the here and now aren't implicated within it. And the OAG felt it was important to engage with that time frame so that it gives us enough time to prepare for some eventualities. Thus, OAG 2036 was born, an iterative, evolutionary, sort of multi-pronged approach to strategic planning, where we wanted to engage all of you, so stakeholders from the city, obviously our arts communities, from our national institutions, social and healthcare agencies, supporters, all within this conversation, as well as engaging some individuals and groups who have not had voice within the OAG, the purpose of which is to provoke our collective thinking and to open our minds to the role we need to play as leaders in the 21st century, and how we might need to shift and change in order to be responsive to our various needs. Today's session is the second in this series, and it will consist of keynote lecture, followed by a moderated conversation with several local experts, followed by some table talk, and an opportunity for Q&A. All the points and questions raised today will inform the OAG's future as it embarks on its strategic plan. Because our guest speaker is known throughout North America as a passionate advocate, scholar, and provocateur of our urban futures, we are pleased to have Councillor Fleury representing the City of Ottawa to introduce her. Maintenant, c'est un plaisir de vous présenter Councilleur Fleury.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Merci d'avoir pris de votre temps pour appuyer puis aider les éléments stratégiques de la Galerie d'Art d'Ottawa. We live in this amazing space now, and we were just here last week for the unveiling of the Central Library, and everyone was speaking about these spaces, and it's just amazing to see a transformation in only a few years. And I think the reflection that you will have this afternoon in terms of programming and beyond is quite important. And we have someone very important that will do a keynote, as Alex was highlighting. Alors, laissez-moi vous présenter qui va être devant moi dans quelques instants pour vous partager un petit peu une ouverture sur les villes, une ouverture sur le monde, puis peut-être vous préparer pour la séance d'après. Mary Rowe is the president and CEO of the Canadian Urban Institute. She is a leading urban advocate and civil society leader who has worked in cities across Canada and the United States. Mary has been a frequent contributor to national and international city building programs, including UN Habitat and the World Urban Forum. Mary is an impassionate civic leader with diverse experience in the business, government, non-for-profit, and philanthropic sectors in Canada and the US for over 30 years. Mary has been a steady advocate and champion for place-based approaches to building livable and resilient cities and community-driven local economies. J'aimerais qu'on ait une belle main d'applaudissement pour Mary. She was visiting earlier before the session today. She visited the entire space at the gallery, so hopefully she says a few things about where we are at today and what she's seen so far. Let's have a big round of applause for Mary Rowe. Do you need water?
No, I've got this one there. Are you going to go up and switch the people down?
No, I'll listen.
Okay, great. Hi. This microphone will let me walk around, apparently. Although we didn't alert. Oh, it does work. In the booth. Thank you very much. I'm going to use this apparently because the lab has been reassigned. Okay. So thanks for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm from Galerie, and I live in Toronto, and don't hold that against me. I want to talk with you a little bit about the power of place. And I'm a Canadian. I was born in London, Ontario, and then I was educated at the University of Toronto, and then I lived rural for 10 years, and then built a practice that took me to the US, and I lived in the US for almost 15 years, where I happened to work in a couple of extraordinary circumstances where it became very clear to me why place was so important. And I have had a great day here so far, thank you very much. Alex cold called me, in fact Zoe cold called me and said, we're doing this thing, will you come? I said, how do you even know who I am? I actually don't know how you knew who I was, but anyway, they had seen me somehow and asked me if I would come and participate in this, and I just want to say how valuable I think it is for cultural institutions to go through this exercise and to engage people outside of your walls and outside of your own folks to get perspectives on what the significance is for you as you move forward in the future. So hats off to you and to your board. Thanks for asking me, and to your board, who I'm going to meet with later. And I had a great morning this morning working with the staff, talking about this topic too, the power of place. And I took lots of photographs of all the smart ideas that they came up with. But one of the things that's so interesting about this discussion of place is it is actually highly personal. We each have an experience of place. And we may not think about it, we may not have really registered that much, but we're going to go through some slides which I'm going to look through really quickly, and then we're going to have a discussion amongst all of us, and then with you, about how your personal experience of place affects your values and affects how you look at the world, and I am arguing how it affects Canada. So I am the head of the Canadian Urban Institute, 30-year-old organization, focused on the quality of our urban environments. And that discussion has evolved over 3 decades. We're into our 4th. And Canada has evolved in that 30 years as well. So part of what I want us to talk about is whether or not place can be a mechanism for us to have a new conversation together about what we share and what we have in common. Now, will this work? Facilitator's question. Here we are. So I'm going to mill around here because it makes me less nervous if you look at the slides and don't look at me. And do you know where this is? Say again? That's Vancouver. And obviously Canada has all sorts of iconic places. But one of the questions that we struggle with is, does it become this?